Right, let's start here. Over the past 48 hours, Eskom has ramped up power cuts from stage 2 to 3, 4, and finally now stage 6. This does untold harm to the economy, with businesses losing productivity. And for all of us, it's downright infuriating. Let's go to our eNCA reporter, Nqobile Madlala, who is in Durban for us, checking out how people are coping with the intensified blackout. So, Nqobile, of course, we imagine that businesses aren't able to actually operate at full capacity, but also Durban is, one of those places that sees a lot of tourists during this time of the year. And I wonder if this is going to affect them.
Well, it's been very difficult for many, Masego. In fact, I've spoken to some of the small businesses and they were telling me that some of them function purely on things like internet, laptops and so on. So it's very difficult for them to come to terms with what is currently happening. There's also a fear that if it does continue, that it will be even more difficult for everybody. But at this point, I have an energy expert here to speak to me about this. It's new to all of us in Durban to have longer hours of load shedding. Tell me about the impacts this will have on all of our businesses.
Oh, thank you so much. The impact is devastating. You look at the issue of security, you look at the issue of traffic, you look at issues like administrating work. I mean, we are at the finality of our exams. We are struggling because of internet interruptions. We can't communicate efficiently. So the impact is there, and generally the issue of economy of our country. So the impact, we're feeling the impact. We're feeling it.
Doctor, this is the time when everybody comes to visit Durban. This is the time where people enjoy themselves. How do you enjoy yourself in a blackout?
It's quite difficult because the core and the economy of Durban is mostly tourism. It's tourism based, so it's quite difficult with these power cuts. It's actually repelling the investments, to be quite honest, So the situation as it is, it's not attractive. It is not encouraging any business opportunity. So it's quite a challenge for the country currently.
But what does this mean for Durban, though?
Well, Durban for the past few years, of course, even including this year, was struck by the floods. So it means it will take a bit longer for them to recover economically. It will take Durban probably 2 to 3 more years than they would have if this load shedding was not with us. So the unemployment rate will still continue in Durban. We'll see the result of this, probably the repercussion of this load shedding in the next 2 to 3 years. But it's something that will not go unnoticed. I can tell you that for a fact.
But of course we know that we've got a lot of infrastructure that's currently being rebuilt after the floods. What does this mean then for that progress and in ensuring that we get to the point where Durban was in the beginning?
It will be delayed, significantly so. Most of the machinery, they depend on power and stable electricity power. I know that some companies are trying their best to use generators, but it is not efficiently producing the desired output. So it will have significant delays, which will prolong the costing of the project. I mean, if a project was supposed to be a year, it goes to 2 years, it means the cost will also rise. So generally the whole view and outlook of the system will be affected from both progress and also the economics around the project.
And water, I mean, we know that some areas are more and higher and others are in lower bits of the country, of the province. We know that we need power also to push that water. How does this then affect that water and sanitation area?
Not so long ago, our mayor spoke about that the beaches are safe. I took a turn myself. They are not. You can see that some sewage is still spilling over, and this will continue because then we cannot control the flow of water due to these power outages. But to an extent, this also reveals some impact that the apartheid system had on how people were located to stay and where they were supposed to be. So it will also continue widening the gap between the haves and the have-nots. That's the unfortunate part about this load shedding. It goes to the core of the socio-economic development and integrity of human beings, particularly in a space like Durban.
And power stations, do we have enough? They're old, some of them. Is this not going to affect the infrastructure on its own?
No, indeed. I was at Eskom for some time in my career, and I can tell you this for a fact that our power stations are old. And I want to urge Eskom not to stop with their maintenance program. They need to continue, but they need to continue aggressively so. Well, the problem with Eskom is for the longest time that we neglected the maintenance of these stations. Now they are failing us. So the power stations are old, and we need to aggressively ensure that Medupe and Kusile, they come and they operate efficiently as the way they were designed to. And until then, we need to have plans around how we work around load shedding, because my projections, I think for the next 2 to 3 years, we will have to endure this type of situation.
We're hearing about Kubek also being the one that might potentially be turned off over a certain time to be fixed and so on. What would this mean for Durban specifically? Because at this point we know that we are on stage 2 when everybody's on stage 6.
It will increase the stages, unfortunately. One of the things that has been at the core of my heart is to invite academians to be involved, especially in the development of nuclear physics, because we need that. We need experts in that field. You know, we've got one nuclear station in Kubek, and I'm sure that by tonight, possibly, 1,000 megawatts will be taken off for safety and various reasons. So if that happens and no unit is brought back, we might go to stage 8, unfortunately. Yes.
All right, thank you very much for speaking to us, Doctor. Well, you can hear there, Masego, quite a lot that's worrying. He's just explaining to us that this might mean that even the infrastructure in itself gets to be affected in itself. He's saying that most of these power stations are quite old, and so to have the power going on and off, it also has its own effect on them. But of course, small businesses are the ones that will even feel this even more.